I grew up in the shadow of Poltergeist, which both defined my mental image of ghosts for life and scared the fuck out of me. Hauntings became a threat greater than a corny entity resembling a guy under a sheet. They were amplified into a neutron bomb of devastation, rising not only from graves but from electromagnetic breaches in our reality. You can't merely exorcise whatever the hell is underneath Cuesta Verde. You have to run for your goddamn life as your house is inhaled into a plasma void. Maybe this is why I love haunted house movies. Ghosts resonate with me. The concept of hauntings has a psychological underpin, indicating unfinished business and a reckoning with the past. As Colin Dickey, the author of Ghostland, recently said,
"We typically think of ghost stories in terms of the remnants of a terrible tragedy, a past we cannot escape, a justice unavenged, like Hamlet's father."
He also speculated that the cultural bridge from a ghost to the idea of a haunted house has a lot to do with our relationship with the built environment.
Our intentions get coded into architecture in a way that lasts much longer than the intentions themselves, that we change our attitudes and our cultural attitudes much faster than our buildings actually fall down.
It got me thinking about haunted houses in film and the ingredients for the perfect spooky abode. Showbiz has been at this for a while, so I can't possibly undertake a total examination of the complete history. So I did what any half-assed researcher would do. Cherry-pick examples based on availability and personal taste. I assembled a dream team of haunted house movies to see what characteristics they share, assuming that we in the West use a set vocabulary to describe the world. My initial demand? The property must either be haunted or cursed in some way. I prefer my haunted houses to be bad domiciles, structures that have somehow turned evil in and of themselves.
Your aunt thinks that maybe Hill House was born bad. Such houses are described in the Bible as leprous. Before that, in Homer's phrase for the underworld, a house of Hades.
But there are many more examples of a resident spirit, a former occupant of the house causing all the trouble. As a corollary, I love the synthesis of ghosts and science when parapsychologists and physicists try to capture scientific proof of the supernatural. That drags the haunted house into at least the late 20th century. The next step is a list of the criteria which make a great haunted house movie. Axes, bloody imagery, a cemetery in proximity, a cursed structure as the origin of the supernatural, money changing hands, be it wager or dare or compensation to spend the night.
Of course, if you leave, I shan't be able to pay you anything.
Festivities in the house or nearby. The presence of ghosts is the cause of supernatural phenomena. Insects. A demanding memory gets replayed. Parents gone crazy. A threatening voice. And topographic changes, be it self-closing doors or animated statuary. Logic dictates that the more of these boxes a movie ticks, the better it might be. In alphabetical order, I offer the Amityville Horror.
A guy kills his whole family? Doesn't that bother you?
Which is not a great movie, yet it fills many of the boxes. It's more remembered for Rod Steiger's histrionics.
What I saw there was real, what I felt there was real, and what I heard there was real!
Rather than the definitive warning issued by the residents.
Get out!
It's followed by Beloved.
Why you leave me?
Beloved, I was never gonna leave you.
Which is a highly non-traditional yet successful haunted house movie nonetheless. The intellectual influences of Toni Morrison, Oprah, and Jonathan Demme are an interesting fusion, one you don't expect to find Poltergeist nearby. Next is Burnt Offerings.
It's beyond anything that you have ever seen in your life.
A surprise to me, but a pretty stalwart placeholder among haunted house aficionados. It fills many of the prerequisites, plus it has a killer, sinister swimming pool. Crimson Peak comes next, the style-heavy heir apparent to the mantle.
With the windows all shuttered up, the house breathes.
Delivering on so many fronts, but lacking originality and spirit. This movie employs so many great tropes, but it's as boring as hell.
She's showing signs of anemia.
Then come the 1963 and 1999 versions of The Haunting.
The dead are not quiet in Hill House.
With the former being a psychological adaptation of the Shirley Jackson story, as directed by Robert Wise, and the latter being a gaudy and uninspired remake plagued by poor CG and tired performances. The Haunting in Connecticut is an uninteresting delivery system for jump scares. The less said, the better. House.
What's going on? What?
House is less a haunted house movie and more a serial comedic study in repressed trauma. It's the only specifically post-Vietnam ghost story in this list, though, weirdly enough.
Why didn't you kill me, Roger? Didn't you have the guts to do it?
The House on Haunted Hill.
And you call this a party?
Could be.
The legendary William Castle directed this dark and clever gem, which features Vincent Price doing all the great things which made him an indelible presence on film. But it's technically a murder scam and not a haunted house.
I'm ready for justice to decide if I'm innocent or guilty.
The Legend of Hell House.
Hell House. Hell House.
Roddy McDowell is featured in this underseen gem written by Richard Matheson, a gorgeously atmospheric hammer film which serves up as much haunted house goodness as you can possibly stand. Seriously, it's really good and you should see it.
God damn you, you filthy sons of bitches! God damn you!
Feel like going for a little ride? I'd like to show you something.
I've already thrown my back into Poltergeist, which is simply one of the best spectacles ever made, as well as a successful update of the haunted house for the 1980s.
You son of a bitch, you moved the cemetery, but you left the bodies, didn't you?
And we finish with The Shining, about which you already have an opinion.
They'll love it.
This masterwork flourishes in the charts, scoring higher than all the other films in the dataset. Some of these examples are really successful, and others are less so. Which makes me think there may be a dark horse ringer somewhere out there for the perfect haunted house in pop culture. I want to find an immersive spooky story with an axe. Check. I want there to be a dreamlike cemetery involved. Check. It has to be a cursed domicile. Check. I need heightened festivities. Check. How about ghosts? Checks aplenty. We got scary voices.
Send us a message from somewhere beyond.
And we got dramatic topographic changes.
Is this haunted room actually stretching?
This isn't any film, however. I'm talking about Disney's Haunted Mansion. Hear me out. Since 1969, when the first version of this ride opened in Anaheim, Disney has boasted a near-perfect conception of a cinematic haunted house, albeit not on film. There was a movie based on the mansion, made in the same fit of mouse exuberance which produced the Pirates of the Caribbean, but it was a total failure critically and commercially. Something about this movie-inspired attraction defies the attempt to adapt it to film, and perhaps it's best that way. You can go on a house hunt for the last 90 years of film looking for the perfect incarnation of a haunted house, and there are myriad examples. Hell, I didn't even bring up movies like House Sue, which are so far out as to not even resemble the familiar Western idiom. But if you're looking for more, something truly 4D which scratches all the spooky itches, you might want to be rocked off your ass on a raspberry slushie and Rice Krispie treats while listening to that classic Paul Frees voiceover, taking a journey through the boundless realm of the supernatural.
The finest in men's neckwear since 1982.